Hello everyone, Michael from TOAMagic.com here today, and we're going to be going over a very exciting mail buy that we did. We had somebody mail us a box of cards. We paid $10,000 on this box, but I don't really want to spoil what it is, so let's jump to it. So what is Collector's Edition? Well, Collector's Edition came in this nice little box that sold back in the mid-90s and was a $50 box set. They made 10,000 of these, and the cards, well, the cards look just like beta. We have black borders, but these sharp edges on all four sides. And when you flip them over to the back, they're gold backed. So they're visually distinct from beta, but it's every card in the set, all 306, as well as a bunch of the basic lands. So we have exciting cards like Natural Selection or Llanowar Elves. And in this set, through and through, all these cards look to be very nice. These are all near mint or close to near mint. A couple of the more playable cards have some wear on the top edges, but in general, well, they're great cards. Everyone loved to own them. The problem comes in when we look at the better stuff. There's a full set of duels in here, and the duels, well, they look reasonably nice. Again, there's that little bit of wear I was talking about on the top portion of them, but they're reasonable, they're sellable, they're desirable. The power, though. Power is where we start to have issues. If you look in this top corner on any of these, you're going to see that that corner isn't sharp like it would be. Right, we have our grizzly bears for the example, and we see that corner is very different across the three. And what happened is somebody took the square corner and rounded it out to make it look more like a regular card. But they went further than that. Take these cards and flip them over. Every card that's a piece of power in here has pieces missing from the back and is flimsy. So what happened is somebody took these and tried to glue the back of a legitimate beta card to them to make them appear to be authentic beta. There's a really large price difference between CE and especially 10 years ago or 15 years ago and legitimate beta, so they were trying to make money on that gap. So you see on this top corner, that is a authentic Magic card attached to the back of this. That's going to cause us some problems in valuing this, and it's going to cause a lot of problems in trying to sell this. So let's take a look at how we're going to sell this. The regular cards in the set are all here. They're all nice. We talked about that already. And all of these small cards, the $40 Berserk, $60 Mana Vault Buy List, $15 Hypnotic Spectre, all these cards are reasonable, they're sellable, they're easy enough to sell on their own. And we're going to do that instead of selling it as a set. There are two ways a set like this changes hands. Either somebody decides to buy the entire set as a collectible, and there are certainly people that do that, or somebody is going to want to buy just the good cards to play in a deck, or just certain cards that they need for an old school deck or something of that nature. Well, we can't really sell this as a collectible box of cards, because the power is all kind of destroyed. So instead we're going to piece it out. So the $40 Buy List Howling Mine, $60 Buy List Mana Vault, $30 Buy List Berserk. All these cards are very sellable as is. And this sort of low-end stuff adds up to a little over $1,000. Now the middle tier, which again we said was very nice, is the duels. These are all sellable. This chunk, the $100 to $300 buy list type cards, is about $3,000. So far we have $4,000 in value on this deal that we're going to be able to pay. Let's go back to the power. Now, Black Lotus is the biggest piece here. That's the one we're going to talk about the most. So the Lotus looks generally reasonable. The back is, again, rough. It's not as rough as some, but it's rougher than some as well. The problem is Lotus isn't cheap. Unlimited Lotuses start at about $10,000 right now, and Collector's Edition started at about $5,000. So we're going to price this somewhere under $5,000, but how much less than $5,000? The problem comes in that anybody who's trying to buy a Collector's Edition Lotus that wants to play with it, so not as a collectible, but they just want an acceptable, I can put this in a sleeve copy to play with, well, they want the cheapest one out there. So if it's 5 or 45 or 4 or 35 or 3, it doesn't matter. This is going to be the cheapest copy out there, almost no matter how we price it. So there's not really a reason to sell it cheap. We're going to take this Black Lotus and we're going to try to sell it for $4,000, give or take, maybe $3,500. It will depend if this sells quickly or not. But we only need to find one customer that wants it. We only have one of these Lotuses. We're not going to buy another one anytime soon. So we don't need to worry about skewing the market. Now, we can't really pay an aggressive price on this. If you had a Mox that was a $3,000 Mox Emerald or something, we can pay $2,400 or $2,500 on it because there's a lot of demand for a Mox at that $3,000 price. Black Lotus, on the other hand, doesn't have a ton of inherent demand, and especially for a played card, we're just not going to have the same level of demand as we would for an unlimited card that was actively playable in sanctioned formats. So we're really going to be hoping to get into this at about $1,500. So $4,000 from before, $1,500 for here, gets us to about $5,500 for the set. The next best card in here is Time Twister. Time Twister is the only piece of power that's playable in Commander, and unlimited versions are between $5,000 and $6,000 for the cheapest copies that you can find. This means that anybody who wants a playable Time Twister is going to have to pay a reasonable amount of money, and collector's edition copies start at about $1,500. Now, this one is, again, worse, just like the Lotus, in that we're going to have to sell it for less, but we're probably still going to try and sell this for $1,000. This is probably a little bit more liquid than the Lotus, so we're going to go ahead and put $600 on this on the buy side, bring us up to $6,400. The rest of these pieces are all fairly interchangeable, the other 7, in that they're desirable, reasonable copies are maybe $800 or so retail. We're probably going to be asking about $500 on each of these, which means that we can kind of pay the old retail price about $300 each, give or take. And that's going to put us, all told on this, up to $8,800 or so. Now, we know we have some room in this, and that we don't need to pay, and that we want to pay $88,000. But as I said in the intro, we ended up paying $10,000 on this. Now, we can kind of cost balance that however we want, but we kind of have an idea that the numbers that we talked about are a little bit optimistic. We're not really going to be able to pay them all the time. And that's really where we want to be versus where we need to be to make money. So we're into the set for $10,000, and we're going to see how it sells. Now, the next question is, should we do anything with these ourselves? It's likely these are going to go to somebody who is going to graft a gold back off of another card and insert it there and just paste it together and make it look really nice and pretty. So should we just do all that ourselves? Well, there's 2 big problems here. One, we're reducing the buyer pool by doing it. Not everybody's going to want to pay the extra $400 or $500 it's going to take to make these cards nice and playable again. Somebody might buy one of these to play it in Perfect Hards. Somebody might play it in their Commander deck where their friends don't care. We want to get our pool of available buyers as large as we realistically can without costing us money. So we don't really want to do it. The second is time. It's going to take 2 or 3 months to be able to get these cards back from somebody who's doing an alteration, and we don't really want to sit on these for that time when we could just sell them and buy something else. So we're going to sell these as is and see how it goes. I want to thank everybody for watching. All these cards are available on TOAMagic.com. We're also always interested in buying more, so if you have something you'd like to sell, get in touch with us via our social media at the bottom.